What's up, people?
So we're going to be going right into this top eight match between Steven Mia and Chris Danzo. Top eight said really good players. I believe both of them are X2, and
Yep. Oh
Chris
yeah.
Danzo is the 6-1, so it should be really, really exciting being a top cut match. So going into the match momentarily here.
Yeah, we've seen Chris. He's done well at our events. I don't remember his best regionals
He is the
performance.
New Jersey midseason showdown champion, so he does have that running up for him and
Yes,
trying
that is
to
true.
defend attain another midseason showdown trophy. First place.
And Stephen Mia he got second at Athens, I believe, as a senior in 2015, and he also got second at our Liberty Garden Invitational this past summer.
Yes, he did. So should be a really great best of three match between both players. And we didn't even see anything about Steven yet, what team he's running, but
All right.
Chris is using the Sejong Park team you guys saw earlier. Uh, all I really know about is that Scarf Porygon Z. So should be a really great Hyper Beam potentially.
Wait, the exact same Sage and Park
I'd
team?
assume so. We're going right into it now, seeing both teams here. We're going to get Chris Danzo on the side of your screen with a team of Muck, Arcanine, Tapu Fini, uh, Vikavolt, Porygon Z, and Kartana, with Steven using a team of Kartana, Crocodile, Porygon 2, Marowak, Araquanid, and Tapu Koko.
Yes, this is going to be very interesting. It looks like Chris, in my opinion, has to really with the Muck because he doesn't have much to target down the Porygon 2 with. But Porygon 2, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in this format because of the Violet item. But if you get that Violet item knocked off, you are a lot less bulky and you're not going to be taking hits as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And even with Steven, he does have that Marowak with the Lightning Rod. So any type of electric attacks that Chris tries to go for between his Vikavolt and the Porygon Z potentially could get redirected.
Yes, the Tapu Fini is going to be an interesting too because Tapu Fini does really well against Steven's team, except against the Kartana and the Tapu Koko. But if Steven wants to bring Marowak, he has to be very careful about Thunderbolting when Marowak could switch in or basically just protect
Yeah,
on the field.
and also I just noticed both of them are running Kartana.
Yeah.
So I expect a couple speed ties here as we're going into this best of three match top eight here in Pennsylvania. This is the midseason showdown for today. Chris Danzo on the bottom of your screen, and Steven Mia on top. We're going to get a lead of Crocodile and Marowak for Steven, while Chris is going to be leading off with a Kartana and Muck.
Very interesting. It looks like Chris would have the better position here with the Kartana being able to threaten the Crocodile and then knock off into Marowak, but it depends on if Kartana is able to knock out that Crocodile with a Leaf Blade. If it doesn't, Crocodile can get an attack off, such as a Tectonic Rage to knock out the Muck, and then a Flare Blitz could knock out the Kartana. So it depends on how these trainers have trained their speed and their bulk. So we could see switches out here. We could see Protect Scouts. It's going to be interesting to see that Kartana's item because they either run Assault Vest or Focus Sash. So we might not even know if the Kartana carries Protect or not.
Yeah, exactly. Straight off Leaf Blade, going straight into that Crocodile, surviving with just a little bit of health. But there we go, the Tectonic Rage coming from Steven's Crocodile. Who's it going to target? I'm going to assume that Muck. Muck could be a really big threat, and Steven does not want to get anything knocked off, specifically on his Porygon 2, as you mentioned earlier. There goes the Tectonic Rage, going to be targeting that Muck, dragging it down into the Earth's core, dealing huge amounts of damage. There goes the nuclear explosion and right down to zero health. And Muck is right out of the field first turn. There goes the Flare Blitz now onto Kartana. Times 4, super effective. Is it carrying that Focus Sash or the Assault Vest? There goes the Focus Sash. Will be surviving with 1 HP. And we are going to see all of that recoil from the Flare Blitz.
Luckily, no burn from the Flare Blitz, but excellent play by Steven there. He knew his damage calc. He most likely EV'd it to live a Leaf Blade at -1. But the fact is that Chris already risked the Muck and lost it. Means that if Steven has Porygon 2, Chris is going to be in a very tough position unless he has something like a Swords Dance on Kartana or Calm Mind on the Tapu Fini.
Yeah, exactly. Tapu Fini, as we saw earlier, generally carries the Muddy Water and will be super effective on both of Steven's Pokemon as they are weakened to it. There goes the Marowak switch out from Steven as he brings out his Porygon 2, and we're going to get that download boost. What will it be? We're going to be seeing the special attack boost now as Kartana will be going up for a Protect for this turn. There goes the Protect, but there's the Crunch from Crocodile. We'll be getting that Protect and will be getting negated as the Calm Mind will be going on the Tapu Fini. Will be increasing that special attack and special defense by 1 stage.
That's very good for Chris. He was able to get a Calm Mind up, and now he threatens the Crocodile to get a potential Beast Boost. But the problem is Porygon 2 can get Trick Room. However, Steven's team didn't exactly have the best ways to knock out Tapu Fini, especially with a +1 special defense. Unless Steven has Kartana in the back, I don't see a huge way to knock out the Tapu Fini unless he stalls out the Misty Terrain and has something like Toxic.
Yeah, that's one way to take care of it. And even the Kartana won't be lasting too long with it, just having 1 HP left. But instead, we're going to get the switch out from it. Chris bringing out that Vikavolt, as we saw so many times last week at the Texas Regional. Crocodile now going for that crunch onto that Vikavolt switch in. Tapu Fini just going to continue setting up the Calm Mind, increasing its special attack and special defense again. So it is now at a +2 in both of its stats. Porygon 2 going for that Trick Room, will be resetting it and we'll be getting it right back to normal. Or no, it's getting twisted now. So now,
Yeah.
so let's see, Porygon 2 will be the fastest thing on the field?
No, I believe the Vikavolt
Vikavolt,
would be
yeah.
the slowest thing on the field.
Okay.
And that's interesting. I think Steven was expecting the Crocodile to be knocked out there, but Chris is not going to let him get a free switch in. And Crocodile can't do much to Tapu Fini, so he's keeping this offensive pressure with the Tapu Fini on, and now can start doing damage to the Porygon 2. He's got 2 Calm Minds and got 4 turns of Trick Room, unless Steven wants to reverse Trick Room.
Yeah, there we go. Thunderbolt onto that Porygon 2, doing about a third there. But Porygon 2 firing back with an Ice Beam onto that Vikavolt, taking it right down to 45 HP, but will be restoring its health back with the Papa Berry, as Mighty Water will be going onto only Steven's Crocodile. Porygon 2 just dodging it there and getting the knockout.
Yep. Muddy Water, just like Precipice Blaze, only has 85 accuracy. Very unfortunate for Chris because Muddy Water probably would have done at least 30% and would have put it in range where another Thunderbolt Muddy Water combination would knock out unless the Porygon 2 was forced to recover there. But Steven gets a good switch into Araquanid here.
Yeah, Araquanid being that bug water typing and just being able to deal good damage with the liquidation onto that Vikavolt.
Or if it's carrying the Z move, could go for the Hydro Vortex here. But the problem is I don't see anything that Steven can really do to hit the Tapu Fini with. So I'm guessing he does have Toxic and will have to stall out.
Yeah, so like you said, we'll likely have to be burning out these next couple turns of the Misty Terrain if it wants to try and deal any damage to that Porygon 2.
Yep, it's very interesting. We'll probably see a Hydro Vortex or a Liquidation, depending on Steven's damage calculations. Maybe he's a bit more bulky of a Araquanid. So we're seeing Marowak actually come in.
Yeah, Marowak switching in now. Vikavolt going for that Protect here. Araquanid using the Wide Guard, probably predicting a Muddy Water from Chris's Tapu Fini. But instead, we're going to get the Moonblast. We'll be targeting that Araquanid. With a +2 in special attack, we'll be taking it right down to half.
I really like the plays from both players. Steven getting the Marowak in to threaten the Vikavolt, also to absorb any electric type attacks. The Vikavolt is slower under Trick Room. But also the fact that Chris was now falling for that, getting the Muddy Water damage to guarantee a knockout on Araquanid the following turn with a Moonblast or Thunderbolt. And now Araquanid, if it does have Protect, it doesn't have a guaranteed Protect. It will be a chance.
Yeah, exactly. There's still a couple more turns of Trick Room, so Vikavolt is free to be doing big damage, potentially getting a knockout with Thunderbolt onto Araquanid.
He cannot Thunderbolt, unfortunately, because of the Marowak's Lightning Rod. And
Exactly.
Wide Guard.
Yep. There's the Wide Guard now from Vikavolt, and there's the Bug Buzz. We'll be targeting that Marowak. Not going to be very effective due to its typing, as Marowak will be getting a Flare Blitz. Who will it be targeting? It will be going straight for that Vikavolt and will be enough to knock it out.
Yeah, so Vikavolt is going to go down.
There
Let's see what this Tapu Fini does. It's going to be a Moonblast, but who is it going to target? That's a very important target.
Yeah, there goes the Moonblast right onto Marowak. Increasing that special attack from Calm Mind will be enough to knock it out. So there goes the Misty terrain disappearing from the field now, and both players gonna have to decide who they're gonna be bringing in. But there goes the Kartana for Chris, as Steven will be sending out his Porygon too.
Yes, this is going to be a very interesting position. Download's going to activate, which is going to get the attack rise. So you can assume that the Tapu Fini has some special defense investment because Kartana does not have the best special defense in the world. So they're down to their last two Pokemon, but I think Chris is in a better position because you're pretty much free to get his free Sacred Sword off, and maybe a Moonblast from the Tapu Fini at +2 will be able to OHKO the Porygon too, and then Tapu Fini would just win.
Yeah, potentially. May as well. Porygon 2 is already at about 3/4 health there, so a double target onto it is probably the best bet for Chris right now so that he could take control of the game and knocking out the Araquanid at the end.
Also, the fact that if Steven loses Porygon too, but we're going to see the Protect come out from the Kartana.
Yeah, Kartana going for that Protect now as Araquanid will use that Liquidation onto it, protecting itself. There's the Recover from Porygon 2, however, so we'll be restoring its health back to full. So, health being recovered, Tapu Fini going for that Moonblast now onto that Araquanid. Will it be enough? Yes, it will. Araquanid will be going down, and Chris will be at a lead of 2v1 as the Trick Room returns to normal.
Yes, Steven did get a Recover up, but it depends. He would have to be able to take two Moonblasts combined with the Sacred Sword, and that's very unlikely because Kartana and Tapu Fini are very strong. So we're going to see the Sacred Sword into Porygon 2.
Yeah, Sacred Sword taking it right under half there as Tapu Fini will be going for that Moonblast. It does have a +2 in special attack. Will it be enough? No, just going right onto a quarter there as its special attack will drop. Porygon 2 going for an Ice Beam now onto Kartana, but this looks like the end for Chris.
For Steven.
Oh, for Steven. Whoops. Yeah, gaining that Moonblast now onto the Porygon 2 will be stealing his win. So Chris will be getting a win of 1-0 as we move on to this next set.
Yeah, Chris definitely played that well. Of course, the first turn it looked pretty bad for Chris because he wasn't able to get the knockoff. But Chris had other options, Sacred Sword, getting that Calm Mind up. Steven couldn't really stop that Calm Mind. He didn't bring any of the options that he had for the Tapu Fini in Tapu Koko or Kartana. So we're probably going to see a switch.
Yeah, potential switch. I think we'll definitely have to be watching out for the Tapu Fini, so Steven will need to adjust for that. What options do you think he should be changing for that potentially?
I would assume Kartana by the way that Chris brought his Pokemon. The fact that Kartana does really well against Muck, knockoff isn't going to be doing too much. The fact that Kartana can potentially win the speed tie against the other Kartana and bring it down to its sash. I'm not sure if we're going to see Araquanid. It didn't really do much for Steven, and he really needs to hit the Tapu Fini if he wants to win.
Yeah, that Vikavolt really. I mean, it did get to do some thrownable damage, so probably won't be seeing Araquanid for this next game too. But going back into it, even the Tectonic Rage onto that Muck would really, he got the lead in the beginning, but then Chris was able to adjust from there.
Yeah, he basically just let Chris set up the Calm Minds, couldn't do anything to stop it, and then it was just in Chris's hands.
Yeah, exactly. But looking back at the team now, what do you think about Tapu Koko? Is that something that Steven should consider?
Tapu Koko is definitely a Pokemon that he should consider because of the strong Thunderbolt. The only problem is the Porygon Z could be a problem if Chris wants to switch it up because Tri-Attack will knock out a non-bulky Tapu Koko because of adaptability. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Chris decides to bring. Tapu Koko also doesn't really fare well against the Vikavolt and the Muk, so very interesting. We'll probably see Crocodile again. We'll probably see Kartana from Steven. And then it depends on what he wants to decide to bring. Maybe bring both Kartana and Tapu Koko as double checks to Tapu Fini.
Yeah, Intimidate was really helpful. Intimidate, honestly, is always helpful whenever you're going to be versing against any physical attackers. As we've seen throughout the tournament, Kartana was literally on everyone's team. But we're going right into this now. Steven leading with Crocodile and Tapu Koko as Chris will lead off with Kartana and Muck.
I really like this lead for Steven. Gained the Intimidate off, getting the Electric Surge up, and now is able to threaten both these Pokemon because Kartana, we saw the Leaf Blade didn't KO Crocodile unless it's a roll. But since this isn't Assault Vest Kartana, two Thunderbolts will be able to knock out Kartana. And the fact that Tectonic Rage is threatening the Muck, we might see a Vikavolt switch in to the Tectonic Rage if Chris decides to go for that play, but Steven can always read that and just go for a Crunch into the Muck.
Yeah, it really, this will be a really interesting turn because they're literally leading with the same Pokemon from game 1. It's just all about predictions about is Steven going to go for the same turn 1 Tectonic Rage onto that Muk. He could even protect here too, or he could go for the switch. But instead, we're going to see the Crocodile go for that protect. So no damage dealt to it as Muk goes for the Shadow Sneak into the Crocodile. But Tapu Koko going straight for that Volt Switch will be targeting that Kartana. Wow, so much damage even with resisting it, but the Electric Terrain will be boosting its Electric type attacks. Gonna have to be seeing who he switches out from the Tapu Koko. Porygon 2 now coming out. We'll be getting that download boost now. But download boost, we're going to see that special attack. Kartana going for that Leaf Blade. Going to be protecting itself from that attack.
Alright, that was a very interesting turn. Steven definitely got better because he was able to lead a double attack into Crocodile. The Shadow Sneak plus Leaf Blade would have most likely KO'd the Crocodile. However, the fact that Steven is in the same position with that Crocodile, he'll probably have to switch it out if he wants to keep it. And the fact that he doesn't have anything that can outspeed the Kartana means he's going to be taking a lot of damage most likely. Porygon 2 did get a special attack rise, which might be big. Might be able to knock out the Kartana, or if Trick Room an option for Steven, but I don't know if he really wants to go for it with a potential Beak Bolt and Tapu Fini in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Even with the Muk out, it could also be taking advantage of the Trick Room. But I think Porygon 2, I would probably just want to try and knock out the Kartana, but instead we're going to see switch out from Crocodile on Steven's side, bringing out that Marowak. But a Shadow Sneak will be targeting the Marowak now. Super effective damage, doing about some good chip damage there. Leaf Blade targeting the Marowak now, taking it at about 20%. And Porygon 2 going with an Ice Beam onto Kartana and knocking it out.
Alright, so that was definitely great for Steven. He was able to get the Ice Beam and not risk a Tapu Koko taking damage. But it's going to be an interesting position without the Trick Room because now Tapu Fini is coming in. There's the threat of Muddy Water, there's the threat of Knockoff, and there's the threat of a Calm Mind setup because Tapu Fini really isn't threatened unless it's a Shadow Ball Thunderbolt combination. But you can't Thunderbolt even with the Marowak on the field, so that's not even an option.
Exactly. Pretty scary. I mean, Steven could also do the whole mind games and even switch out his Marowak and go for the Thunderbolt and just playing with Chris's head about how should he be going about this this turn right now.
Yeah, we could see Tapu Koko switching for an Electric Terrain boosted Thunderbolt. That would do a lot of damage to Tapu Fini, and the fact that Thunderbolt, even if Tapu Koko loses the item, it might be able to knock out the Tapu Fini the following turn.
Yeah, knock off a really strong attack. Any items they could get rid of. Porygon 2, especially because of all the bulk that it has using that Eviolite item. But both players taking their time here, trying to figure out how they should be going about this next turn with Steven up by 1 Pokemon. Marek now switching out for Steven as he brings out that Crocodile. So we'll be able to use that Intimidate, lowering that attack of Muk even more.
That is risky though. He is switching into a potential Muddy Water.
Yeah, but instead we're going to see the Calm Mind from Chris, just increasing that special attack and special defense by 1 stage, boosting its power specifically for that Muddy Water. Porygon 2 now going for the Ice Beam, will be targeting that Muk, so doing some good damage there with that special attack boost as Poison Jab will be targeting the Porygon 2, doing about a quarter there.
It looked like Chris was predicting a switch into Tapu Koko there to take the knockoff from Porygon 2. That's definitely a potential play that Steven could have done, but I like what Steven did. Get the Intimidate off. You're able to put Muk in range to a potential Earthquake to pick up the knockout, and you still have your Tectonic Rage, and you can target down the Tapu Fini for a lot of damage. In fact, put in range to maybe a Thunderbolt or Dazzling Gleam from the Tapu Koko.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think maybe resetting the Trick Room might be a good option?
He didn't get Trick Room up.
Well, setting up Trick Room now.
Oh, probably not. We're going to see Beakable come in. I don't think Steven wants to set up Trick Room when he has Tapu Koko in the back.
Yep, and there goes the Crocodile going for the Protect, and Tapu Fini using that Muddy Water, and will actually be avoiding the Porygon 2 as Ice Beam from Porygon 2 targeting that Vigavolt.
Yeah, I think Steven was baiting the Protect from Muk in case that he wanted to go for Tectonic Rage. Very safe play. He also saves his Crocodile because now he can go for Tectonic Rage into Fini unless Fini wants to Protect. It's pretty safe of a play. Also, the Ice Beam damage did a lot to Beakable because of that +1, so might put in range of Crunch plus Ice Beam even after the iPop Pop Berry.
Yeah, and there is the Z-move from Crocodile going for that Tectonic Rage. Likely going to be targeting that Tapu Fini as it unleashes its full force and will be dragging down the Tapu Fini into the center of the earth, probably will be enough to knock it out, but I think it's still at about full health. So there goes the damage, bringing it down to 60 HP. And Crocodile avoiding double avoid from the Muddy Water as Ice Beam will be targeting that Vikavolt.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's see the entire matches all day have been Muddy Water, accuracy drops, and snarls. But there goes the Bug Buzz onto the Crocodile, super effective and knocking it out.
Okay, so even though I guess the Muddy Water wouldn't have been a big deal on the Crocodile since the Bug Buzz was able to KO, but having that chip damage on Porygon 2 might have put it in the range of another Muddy Water, but it's only +1. We see the Tapu Fini has leftovers, so it's going to be able to get a bit of recovery, but I don't think it's going to be enough to affect the Tapu Koko, which is going to come in.
Yeah, Tapu Koko coming out, getting that Electric Surge and boosting its electric type attacks, but at the same time, Vikavolt is also getting a boost as well and will be able to deal significantly more damage to Porygon 2 if it goes for a Thunderbolt.
Also, the fact that Steven lost his best Muck answer is quite concerning for him.
Yeah, a Vikavolt going for a Protect now. Tapu Koko going for that Thunderbolt onto Tapu Fini should be enough to knock it out with that boost from the electric terrain. And we're going to get that Life Orb recoil from it as Porygon 2 goes for an Ice Beam but will be nullified by the Protect.
And we'll see Muck come back in.
Yeah, Muck going back and bringing on all of its weight onto the field now.
Okay, this is a very tricky position, but the fact of way that Steven can win is by getting rid of Muck so that Marowak can 100% win this game. But the fact that Chris can protect and Vikavolt can threaten with a lot of damage is very concerning. So we'll see how he's able to handle this because it depends on how bulky Chris's Muck is. With the probably Figgy Berry you would assume on Muck, they always carry Figgy Berry most likely. So with that combination, will it be able to knock it out?
Yeah, here we go. Thunderbolt onto that Vikavolt, taking it right under half health. There goes more of the Life Orb recoil damage, slowly draining its health. And the Ice Beam followed up onto that Vikavolt. Will it be enough? Taking it all the way down to 0. Vikavolt now out of the field now. And there's the knockoff onto Porygon 2. And we'll be knocking out that Eviolite. So what do you think right now? What is the position for Chris? He is down 1 Pokemon
I
left.
think Chris auto loses because just a free switch into Marowak and a Flare Blitz would be able to knock out this Muck, especially after this Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
Which gets a crit.
there's and there's the critical hit onto Chris's Muck, and Steven will be taking this game, and we are moving on to a game 3.
Yeah, so very interesting. Steven getting a bit lucky, but I still like the way he played. He didn't set up Trick Room for his opponent this time, was able to get a lot of chip damage onto his opponent's team.
Okay, you were saying?
Uh, Yeah, basically that Chris wasn't able to get into a position where he was able to outspeed his opponent. He only got one Calm Mind on top of Fini, which kind of hurt him because he wasn't able to do as much damage to the Porygon 2, or would have done if Muddy Water actually connected. But we're probably going to see some adjustments from both players in Game 3. Maybe Steven might not adjust, but I don't think Marowak really helped him. He only got it to switch in.
Yeah, and then just a quick update for the viewers. Justin Karras beats Joshua Lorsi. We'll be moving on to the semifinals, but we're going into this game 3 momentarily here between Chris and Steven. So what kind of adjustments do you think both players should be doing now?
I definitely think Steven might want to bring the Kartana here. Kartana is a Pokemon that might give Chris's team some trouble. Not sure if we would see the Vikavolt again. It was pretty bulky, but the fact it took so much from Ice Beam, and the fact that it just, I mean, it is a switch into Tectonic Rage if Chris wants to do that. But the fact that Porygon Z could have probably done pretty well in that matchup, was able to knock out Tapu Koko with Tri-Attack most likely, would have probably done a lot to the Porygon 2. Maybe even pick up the knockout on Crocodile with maybe a Hyper Beam.
Yeah, and then even looking at Steven's team, his only answer to Porygon Z is that Kartana and the Marek, but Kartana is really frail, and so even with the normal type attack onto it, we'll be doing at least a half damage.
Depending on if it's Assault Vest or Focus Sash, we haven't seen that set from Steven.
Yeah, but we're going now into the Game 3 top 8 here in Pennsylvania between Chris Danzo and Steven Mia. I'm expecting another Crocodile lead.
Yeah, I mean, Crocodile with the Intimidate has really helped Steven. We might see a Tapu Fini lead from Chris and something that's able to hit on the special side.
Yep, exactly. Steven going with that Crocodile Tapu Koko lead as Chris goes with that Porygon Z and the Tapu Fini. Good predictions by you. It seems like it makes sense though, right? Because we get the Muddy Water going to be affecting the Crocodile. Crocodile with the Tectonic Rage, but Porygon Z generally carries Ice Beam though too, right?
Yes, but in this factor, you might just want to try attack the Tapu Koko to get rid of it. Of course, Tapu Koko could protect or switch out. Porygon Z most likely, it's going to be probably Choice Scarf on this team. It's going to be interesting to see how Steven does, but I don't think a Muddy Water Moonblast does knock out Crocodile in one shot, so it will depend. Maybe he could double up, but I think you might want to switch out Porygon Z because you don't want to lose it to Tectonic Rage.
Yeah, there goes the Protect for Tapu Koko. No damage being dealt done to it. Crocodile going for a Protect as well. Steven just scouting out what Chris is going to try and do here. Porygon Z going straight for the Hyper Beam onto the Crocodile as Tapu Fini is going to start setting up the Calm Mind.
Yeah, so it's going to get +1 special attack and special defense. I think I like that play from Chris. The only thing he didn't really risk anything other than a Thunderbolt into the Tapu Fini slot, but now he has the threat of a knockout with Hyper Beam. It will KO both Crocodile and Tapu Koko, unless Steven wants to switch out, but he has to switch out on the right slot, most likely into Porygon 2, because if he gets a knockout, this Tapu Fini is going to keep getting Calm Minds, or it could just fire off Moonblast. It's going to be very hard for Steven to move
Yeah,
around.
it's going to be really scary too because he needs to make the right call here. Where is he going to switch out? Because Hyper Beam is going to be coming out from Porygon Z if it decides to stay in.
Yep, but of course, Hyper Beam is 90% accurate, so we
Yeah,
could always see a miss.
there's always that chance for accuracy. There goes the Hyper Beam. It will connect. Who will it be targeting? It will be going for that Crocodile. So Crocodile going all the way down to 0 and being knocked out. So Crocodile now out of the field. And just a quick update, Kazi and Paul will be moving on to the top 4 in the semifinals as we're going back into match with Tapu Koko, getting that Life Orb Recoil, and Tapu Fini going straight for that single target Muddy Water. It's going to be doing good damage to Tapu Koko and just surviving with about a quarter health.
Yeah, so Chris was able to get a lot of damage off, but now Steven gets a free turn with his Pokemon because the Porygon Z has to recharge after Hyper Beam, cannot switch out. So Steven actually bringing the Kartana as an adjustment here. Leaf Blade's going to threaten the Tapu Fini, and a Sacred Sword might be able to knock out the Porygon Z depending on the investment. So he could get a potential Beast Boost here, and depending on his Kartana, Sash or Assault Vest, either way, Tapu Fini wouldn't be able to knock out Kartana.
Yeah, I mean, being unable to move because of Hyper Beam is going to probably knock out the Porygon Z here. Like you said, Sacred Sword would probably be useful onto the Porygon Z and just taking it out due to its weakness. And Tapu Fini probably not going to be able to take an electric attack, but there's the Thunderbolt onto Tapu Fini, just surviving there with 19 HP, more Life Orb Recoil, and Kartana going for the Sacred Sword into that Porygon Z slot, knocking it out and getting that attack Beast Boost.
Yeah, so we'll see what Chris decides to do if it's a Muddy Water or Moonblast. Muddy Water can miss as well.
Yeah, Muddy Water will be connecting onto both of Steven's Pokemon and going to see that knockout from the Tapu Koko, and their Katana will be going down to half and will get that accuracy drop, so it's going to start spelling trouble, and Steven will be needing to hit those attacks.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Steven. If he dodged a Muddy Water, that would have been huge, of course, but the accuracy drop might really hurt him depending on if he's able to hit his moves or not. We're going to see the players bring out Marowak for Steven's side, and Chris is going to bring out the Muck. So, unfortunately for Steven, he's in a pretty bad position against the Muck. Knockoff might be able to knock out the Kartana at this range, depending on the investments. But the fact that Knockoff also threatens the Marowak. But the Tapu Fini is pretty low, so if Steven can connect the Leaf Blade, it will knock out. And maybe if he predicts the knockoff into Kartana, he can Boomerang the Muck and then rely on... Well, Boomerang might be able to KO Muck, depending on rolls with the first and second hit, but he would have to depend on what the last Pokemon is.
Yeah, and then even with the Figi Berry as well, that could be a problem because if it goes under or over 50%, it might not be enough and it'll be able to recover its health back with its berry. We're going to see the switch from Chris, bringing out that Vigavolt, as Muck will be going for a Protect this turn. Kartana going for the Smart Strike, will be targeting that Vigavolt and just doing about almost half there, as Marek will be going for the Flare Blitz into the Muck.
Ooh, very interesting. I like that play from Chris because now he gets a pretty safe attack onto Kartana. Knockoff plus Shadow Sneak will knock out Kartana from that range. But the fact that Bug Buzz will be able to knock out the Kartana, and the fact that he needs Tapu Fini to knock out this Marowak. But of course, he's still relying on the Muddy Water attack, most likely, unless Muck is able to get the knockoff.
Yeah, accuracy drops always really important, depending if Chris is able to hit it for later. Protect now coming from that Kartana, as Muck will be going for the knockoff onto that Marek. Super effective damage, just barely hanging on there. knocking off that Thick Club and Marowak, going for the Flare Blitz onto that Vigavolt.
Yeah, both players shaking hands as Vikavolt goes down, and Steven pretty much knows this is over because Marok will go down, and now knockoff Lashao Sneak does knock out Kartana, and the fact that Feeny should be able to knock out with a Moonblast, or uh, Chris can just go for a Shadow Sneak Moonblast, and that should be able to pick up the knockout, and you have to target down Feeny here.
Yeah, Tapu Fini now coming out, bringing out that Misty terrain, but this looks like all over for Steven as Mux will be able to just go for Shadow Sneak, and Tapu Fini just finishing it up here. But I don't know, this is still Pokemon though, so I'm not counting anything out just yet.
We're going to see a failed Protect here, as we're going to see the Muddy Water. Will this even be able to pick up the knockout Kartana?
Single target, it could be.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, crit.
Well, critical hit.
Might have
Okay,
mattered.
it's Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, okay, Kartana will be getting knocked out, and Chris Danzo will be moving on to the top 4 here in Pennsylvania Midseason Showdown. We are going to be, you know what did you think of the match overall? How do you think they both adjusted?
Very solid plays from both players. I think game 1, Chris, even though Chris was behind, he was able to gain a nice board position with Tapu Fini. Game 2, I definitely like how Steven adjusted. Even with the misses from Chris, I'm pretty sure that Steven would have had a better chance of winning anyway. But game 3, I like that Steven brought the Kartana, but I don't think that this lead was as solid as it was before, because I think Chris knew that what worked in game 2 was going to work game 3 for him. So he definitely adjusted, brought the Porygon Z, and that Porygon Z was able to do a lot of work, able to get the knockout with Hyper Beam. And game 1 knockout and letting Tapu Fini get that Calm Mind is very huge. So unfortunately, Steven wasn't able to do anything. If he was probably Focus Sash, because I'm not even sure if Assault Vest Kartana can even live a Hyper Beam. It's an adaptability Hyper Beam. But if it's Sash, he definitely should have probably tried to lead it, because that way Kartana could have threatened the Tapu Fini. It threatens the knockout on Porygon 2. And also the fact that he lost the Terrain War so early.
Yeah, I did like the adjustment from both players. Specifically, I like that Porygon Z. You know, when you're playing a best of 3, you always want to be switching up your Pokemon, and Chris made it out on top and with his switches. So, Chris, once again, moving on to the top 4. So, I'm Dan Levinson, joined by James Beck, and we'll be coming right back with the top 4 momentarily here at Liberty Garden in Pennsylvania. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching.